community to teach tolerance by reading in drag to children at public libraries. Well, we learned that at least one Story Hour presenter was a convicted sex offender. That was in Houston. Then earlier this year, we showed you how Drag Queen Story Hour evolved into Roll Around and Lay on the Drag Queen in Seattle. Now this, Drag Queen Strip Hour at a King County library in the state of Washington, all to a song that says, "If you feel like a girl, do your thing." Folks, how is this educational? And when Christian taxpayers say no more, my tax dollars will not be used to support this indoctrination of our children or grandchildren, we're called homophobes and bigots. We get proposals from Democratic presidential candidates to pull the tax-exempt status of churches or Christian groups and businesses who stand against this absurdity. It's all about winning votes, folks, because although they represent a small percentage of the American population, members of the LGBTQ community vote, and they do have influence. Yes, in America, we believe in protecting minority rights. The LGBTQ community must be protected from discrimination, but we don't allow the minority to have dominant influence on our society. In a democratic republic, we believe in majority rule. Jesus told us to love one another. Yes, we must love one another as he loves us. But that doesn't mean we love ungodly behavior, nor must we accept it. Remember what Christ said in the book of John, chapter 8, to the woman about to be stoned for committing adultery? He said he did not condemn her, but he told her to go and sin no more. Folks, we have a responsibility to protect our children from stripping drag queens. Jesus also warned us in Matthew 18:6, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. So let's tell our taxpayer-funded public libraries that we will throw them a lifeline to save them from drowning. But like the adulteress in John 8, they must go and sin no more. Well, that's it from the Global Link.
Facial expression right here. So, King County, Washington. Okay. Your children, and we're going to keep pushing it. And I really like how this story showed this progression. Sure, they'll sit there with a nice little book and their freakish attire with all this, heavy makeup, and then it transgressed further to the playing and wrestling around, which this person is sitting here just smiling like, yeah, I've got your little children and they're laying on my pelvic area. And, these sweet little innocent children haven't the slightest I can't believe that their parents would think that this was normal. Like, really? Oh, dear. I mean, yeah, look at that. They just let all the kids on him, and he's so happy. Thank you for letting little 4-year-old Timmy put his pelvic region on mine. And this is tolerance. So what it is tolerance for an increasing. It's a little early. Yeah, that looks right. Evil, and it's going to keep growing. It's going to. Jesus, he promised that a little bit of leaven would leaven the whole lump. Evil doesn't ever stand back and go, you know what? Wait a minute, we're taking things too far. Let's slow down a minute. That's not what evil does. Evil goes, let's push it. and evil, it just continues to grow until somebody gets hurt, is usually what happens. So these people think that it's completely normal to play around with these entities at the public library, evidently. And they don't even know who these people are. The beginning of the story was that a pedophile had gotten in to be around children. And, they decorate with all these balloons and beautiful colors. And, little kids' brains are so void of what an adult with experience in life would have because they're still growing. So, in order for these people to come in and perform this escalating evil, this extremely provocative, whatever that was, over the top, ridiculous. I don't know what that little move was at the end, and people think this is weird, and this person does like some kind of weird, bizarre seizure type of, I don't know. It was weird, and then we got to see, booty up in the air. It was really weird, and this is what tolerance is giving you. That's
Folks,
what your tolerance is giving you. They want to completely rule over your children. They want what will be the next progression of evil? I don't know. That is really weird. Um, and every time they do something and that gets accepted, then that somebody has to do something else to top that, right? So, somebody's going to get hurt one of these days because these kinds of people, by the way they dress and the way they act and how they act with children, you can tell that they don't really have that sense of stopping inside. They don't really have a sense of, you know what, maybe this isn't a good idea. No, this is a man that has decided to put on a red wig, all this gross makeup, and then do a strip tease for the, preschoolers. So we're not talking about people that have a level of logic that they go by, or a level of uh, reasonable whatever in their attitude. I think they're adding the P into this, and the P is for pedophile. And there are women that they have pedaled across on this thing saying, you know what, I can't help it. I'm attracted to, 3-year-olds, and it's not my fault. It's just, I like what I like. You don't tell me that love has an age. And it's these, little frail, thin, bony, kind of pathetic-y girls, I love who I love. Ooh, well, you touched that child and you're going to jail, you little psychopath. Control yourself. Um, but so I think that they are, this is mind control and brainwashing you towards the acceptance of adding that P in, but very subtly, and getting the children really oriented towards people dressing like this. Because I noticed Dory Love had a video where he went to the library where there was a man dressed like a hooker, and he was too. And his attire was, you could see a lot of stuff going on. And he actually defended the Bible and defended the children. And of course, the parents who, were all, righteously indignant. How dare you tell that man dressed as a woman in front of these preschoolers he's doing something wrong? But Dory Love, he serves Jesus. His heart is about Jesus. Everything is about Jesus. And I'm glad that somebody told that man what he was doing was wrong. What they're doing is using Marxist control by telling you, you shut up, Christian. You're not allowed to talk about the LGB. I don't know how we got an R in there. LGBTQP blah 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 rainbow. mafia. But if you don't allow them to do whatever degenerate acts that they, have creep into their mind, well, I thought of it, so I just wanted to do it. Then you get the abusive labeling, you get the abusive 4-year-old name calling. You have a big problem stirring up in Canada with Trudeau. And I was watching some videos yesterday, and they're really, if you're not accepting of these aberrant, sinful lifestyles that make it out of their bedrooms, remember they used to be like, what I do in my bedroom is my business. But now they're like, and the public library with the little school children. It's my world, and you're just breathing here in it. But shut up, Christian. How dare you try to control me? Well, you won't control yourself. And there seems to be no level of sanity imposed from the leadership, especially that example that I just gave you. Well, obviously the one that we're staring at right here, because this person is wearing less and less clothing. Every time I see one of these entities, they're wearing less and less and less clothing. Maybe one day it'll be naked story hour. I don't know. I'm not advocating that, but they want to push these things. So anyhow, Trudeau has all this language, and there are people in their, I don't know if you can call it a Congress or whatever, but we'll just say that the government, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're just pushing this agenda that the issue was they didn't want Christians specifically to be allowed to rent public venues to have a group held event or even pay for it or anything in the name of tolerance. Right? We want to take your rights away in the name of tolerance, so that one particular group would be targeted and they wouldn't be allowed. This was also like public parks, and I mean, just everything's ours. It's ours, and if you're a Christian, you're a big hateful scumbag, right? Was the feel of it, and everything. If you have a different opinion where you go, this is not of God, this is disgusting, this is evil, this is highly dangerous to the formation of a child's reality. To tell a child, this is a woman wearing very little, breakdancing on the floor with her booty out, which is a man, you're really screwing with that child's sense of reality. That's a very careful seedbed of mental illness that you're setting up. And this is all part of the 45 uh, naked communist 45 goals to flip a country that our Congress actually had a meeting about. But anyhow, this is a total onslaught against God and his people, is what's happening. Is what's happening, excuse me. Now, this right here is a perfect example. So the parents well, what they said, who knows if it's true or not, but what the parents said that had their little preschoolers here and children that were so young they couldn't walk yet, watching this male, they said that they rented out the library. This was a private event for them to have this aberrant, teeny weeny dressed male strut around in front of their children in thigh highs and this type of I don't know what to call this, like fringe clothing, fringe, I guess, like the little strips, fringe, in a very fringe, strange reality to make this seem normal to the children, right? I mean, when little Billy's 4 and he sees this all of his life, little Billy thinks this is normal, and so Dore went to have some words and to tell the people what you're doing is wrong. And when you don't obey the Marxist agenda, right, where they're like, shut up, Christian, um, a lot of people do, and that's how they get their way, right? So when no one stands up because everybody's afraid of being name called, we'll name call you, weakling, you know, sticks and stones, right? Uh, Evil just tramples on, is what this video is all about. It just pushes the limits. And so that's one of the exchanges. And this is a true man of God. He gives the gospel to people because he does not want them to have to go burn in hell for their own sins. And that is a biblical position. And the world that doesn't want it, they say, oh, we're tolerant of everything but you and God.